It's just a little bit of width and just short of a length, but Markram just loves the ball coming onto the bat, and particularly those balls outside off stump.
Well, and also Russ, there was a change in deep point or cover point area. They moved it to the deep extra point area, extra cover area, and that's what encouraged Markham on the location to play that slap, nice looking cover on the back foot for a boundary. So Markham looking good, 15 off 9. There, he's overtaken Van der Dusen, who's 11 off 22. And it's Harris Rauf. They continue with Harris Rauf, Russ. What do you think of that?
I think they kind of have to. I think just give him as much rope as you want and hope for the best. And this is possibly to some extent true of all the Pakistan attack with the pace bowlers. They make things happen with their pace, but it can be interesting and exciting. Ralph's more than anyone.
It can be indeed, but this one, Van der Dusen, I think he's looking to play that long innings the way he's batting, just taking the singles, and very happy to be at the non-strikers end, at the spectators end. And Markham looks like he's on a course, and the speed of the ball that is coming through to the bat might certainly help his cause. Let's see what he can do. Markham faces up to this one. Oh, outside the off stump, and yes, as I did say on the location, the speed helping himself on and just lifting it towards the mid-wicket, to the third man area, and this ball sails handsomely over the ropes with the pace for a mighty 6. Russ, nice.
He was perhaps, could have actually got caught at third man, but he managed to get right off the middle of the bat and absolutely flew over the fence. Obviously, being so quick, it's helping him in that respect.
Indeed. And he was airborne, Russ, when he played that. He was like jumping away on the ground to help that ball across with the pace. So Pakistan struggling here as the next ball is played into the gully area by Markham, and no chance for run. I like the way they're not just going for the ball, every ball to sort of try and hit them, respecting the ball, playing the ball according to his merits.
And they're getting opportunities as well. You know with Ralph that you're going to get opportunities, so you just have to make sure that you pick the right ball and execute it when you get that opportunity.
Agreed. Ralph comes in. Oh, that was an ugly-looking shot. He tried to replicate the shot. Oh, two minds there. Whether to go for it or leave it, and almost paying the price there, but lucky as the ball goes through to the wicket Mohammad Rizwan. No chance of a run.
I think he thought that was there. It was actually higher and faster than he was expecting. Got it past him.
And it didn't really climb as much as the previous one as well, didn't it, Russ?
No.
So perhaps not giving the option to get underneath that. This one shorter, and it bounces off a good length onto him when Markham, equal to the task, jumps ahead and pushes it towards the cover stroke gully area. No chance of a run. Harris Rauf, one of the fastest bowlers in the tournament, Mark Wood at 155 kph. Harris Rauf is bowled at 154. We got Lockie Ferguson, Gerald Coetzee, the other South African, bowls at 149. His fastest ball. Mitchell Stark is also bowled at 148. The fastest bowlers in the tournament on the back foot. And this one nicely pushing it on the back foot with the pace of the ball into the deep cover point area. And the batters go through for a single. And South Africa in a victory pursuit of 271. 93 for 2. The batsmen out, Quinton de Kock and Bavuma. Batsman at the wicket, Markham 22 and Van der Dusen on 12.
Leah's saying on Twitter, I hope you mean birthday suit, Bennett. Hendo needs content for the GC Radio OnlyFans. And then we've got, looks like it's going to be a quick turnaround here, so there's so much on the YouTube about but the shirt colour has morphed into the oh no, I thought we were going to get started.
Yeah, I thought Nawaz Razaki was actually coming into bowl, but he actually
So Jay Grover saying, a truth hidden for several spans, a truth only now being revealed. Like fear of its face, you say kittens, I say familiars. I was trying to support you saying, you run a cat rescue, you can't be, how bad can you be? And then
No, cat.
Yeah, Jay points out how you're training familiars. And then just saying there is definitely a colour leakage at Mooney Pond, or the colours are gradually getting paler all the time. They will soon be in monochrome.
I like the banter here.
Yes.
Your viewers certainly have a lot more sense of humour than the ones from the Gorilla Cricket in the UK. Sorry, did you finish that? Sorry, Anne.
There is so much going on. Yes, there's too much going on to get it in between these quick over breaks. There is a question from Harris asking if the jingle board is broken.
Oh, no.
It's just too into the cricket.
Right, sorry, we missed the ball there. Nawaz, who's bowling left arm over the wicket, and the first ball was a no run, and was played into the covers. The second ball, which we're just witnessing, has been pushed into the lawn area by Aidan Markham, who's gone on to 23 now of 16 balls. Vanderdusen struggling, painstaking 12 of 23, and it's Nawaz who's might be boring. Is Shadab Khan back? Can he bowl? We don't know. Let's find out. This one, he's been quite inconsistent with his line and length. Nawaz struggling, but Skipper Babasam certainly having the confidence to throw him the extra over. Could this be a good decision or a decision shortish delivery? On the back foot goes Vanderdusen, plays it towards the long on area, and the batters go through for a single. The bowler's looking like not threatening at all, Russ.
Well, I mean, yes and no. We're seeing there's a bit of excitement at the other end because of Ralph to Markram, and Markram was going after him. We'll see whether he wants to go over after Noah. I think having Markram there really suits Vanderdusen because he can just work it around.
Nawaz balls, and yes, that's the tree. On the back foot, he goes with his dancing shoes on, Aidan Markham, and flips this one over the mid-wicket area. Glorious shot. He picked that ball and off it goes like a rocket in the air over the mid-wicket area. He almost loses his balance, but does well not to fall onto the stumps, and that's a huge six for Aidan Markham, 81-metre monster, and he picked it up really well.
Will you for one take me, or will you have some fun and try to smack some moms?
It brings up 100
as well. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely middled that Markram. That was a fantastic shot.
He's hitting the ball like a football, isn't he? From the time he came into the crease, he has been doing that. This one's pushed away into the covers, no chance of run. Aidan Markham opening bat. PL, where he was playing for one of the teams, they batted him at number 4, and he certainly continued to do so for South Africa as well. He was long tipped to be the next South African captain, but Quinton de Kock sort of went ahead of him in the pecking order, I guess, due to a lack of. And this one's at some point in the last few years. This one's overpitched, nicely pushed away into the covers, and the batters go through for another single. Markham happy to keep the strike on 30 of 19 balls. Vanderdusen 13 of 24 balls, and South Africa 102 for 2. Do we have time for one more, Russ?
Yeah, no, we'll get one more over in.
Yep. Got Harris, Bennett. We are the same listeners from the GC radio in the UK. Leah, it's basically the same set of nerds as over on the UK side. Bennett, Jay Grove, issue with that. Maybe there's more banter when England aren't being totally arsed. Otherwise, is the same shit, same shoe size. And Harris, some days, other days we talk about rivers, mountains, and history. On rare days, we discuss cricket.
It's really great to see the entertainment coming out from the viewer coming. To see a little bit of conflicting view, we can say, but it's nice to have the engagements. Keep them coming. We'll try to keep you entertained as you're on the move. South Africa 102 for 2. Russ, what should be the way that Pakistan should be approaching this? I feel this slow.
Well, if the Markham stays out there, it might be quickly, surely, because he's flying along at the moment. I suspect that they need to lean into their spinners, and the pace hasn't quite come through, and that's probably what we'll see a little bit more of. I think we've gone to play the drinks jingle and we'll do a change what we're thinking,
Just
Abby.
before you do that, I just wanted to come back to something that we said a while ago, just about Nassim Shah, and just to let everyone in the Asia Cup. So that's why he's not playing here.
Very good. Let's hit this jingle.
Let's do a change. Thank you, run shortly.
Yes, you are listening to White Line, the Box of Dreams, brought to you by the Sugar and Spice Cat Rescue. Shortly in the box, Christian's online as well. It's been a very rapid start for South Africa, chasing this target of 271. They're well ahead of it at 2 for 102. The 2 wickets they've lost, De Kock and Bavuma, but Markram has come out and smashed them 40.
Oh, yeah. It's traffic at the moment. I must admit, South Africa look of early wickets doesn't seem to concern them because I know that someone was saying that the top 6 is means that the lower order haven't been tested, but that's rather the point. Top 6
have been so dominant.
Smashed it and been so dominant.
Yeah, I think Cameron made the point observation earlier about Pakistan's innings that they hit a lot of boundaries, but not. South Africa were actually pretty good at turning well.
Yes, they have.
And, I mean, 0.27 at the moment. They're not even really trying to hit out too much, taking advantage of a few loose deliveries. Krishna, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they're doing it comfortably at the moment, aren't they? The South Africans have not been effective, which is unusual.
Ralph's continuing on. He's number 23 or 3 over so far. This one's off stump, and Markram's going to push it out to third man for a single. It takes him to 31 off only 20 balls. Scored a 2.
And we're still craving a really epic close run encounter. It's probably getting a little closer. We had one the other night, didn't we? That was Afghanistan who took the match into the last. Still fed for 4, 7 or 8 overs out. And, maybe one of these days we'll get a tight match.
It's not been a good World Cup for it. Here is Ralph at short, and Vanderdusen didn't really control that well, but he's managed to get around between the square leg and fine leg for a single.
Being easy to be a little overly pessimistic. There's certainly been some surprises and there's been some shocks. Afghanistan have performed very collapsed in the heat, very obviously. So it hasn't all gone according to script. On the other hand, there is that, and there have been some lovely drone shots of Dharamshala and 1 or 2 other places, which have been a great compensation.
Here's Ralph to Markram down the leg side. He's just turned it round, but the fine leg will cut it off on the boundary. Mohammed was him down there. Gets it back in, just a single, 2 for 105.
I don't think we'd have this gone into the last over.
Well, not with too much at stake, I'm afraid. No, it's definitely if the ODI genre was looking to advertise its wares, it hasn't chosen a particularly effective way of doing it, particularly when it's under pressure right now.
Here's Ralph. This one's short, and Vanderdusen turns, sit round the corner with a pull shot there, gets a single to square leg. Score goes to 2 for 106. A less exciting over this one, but 4 singles.
4 singles, yeah, she'll probably suit her. A little bit of a torrid World Cup, poor chap.
Yeah, sometimes I think he brings it on himself, though.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. The out-and-out fast bowler of Mark Wood haven't had good World Cups at all. Pure pace hasn't done it in this series.
It's a ridiculous win prediction of 33%. There's no way that's right.
Here is Ralph, and there's a huge swing from Markram. And I'm not sure if he got an inside edge. It bounced through to the keeper. They then, not sure if they wanted to take a single or whether they just turned back, but there was a shy at the bowler's end which went wildly away from the stumps. And they, in the end, got a single, 2 for 107. But
after all that, it's one by.
Yeah, it wasn't by. He didn't actually touch it. He took the hand off the back, so it actually stayed a little bit low. But the drop from the keeper meant that they ran. 1 ball left in the over.
40 off 30, the current partnership.
Yeah, Markram doing the bulk of that, 32 off 22.
Rather excitingly, of course, Markram remains the biggest palindrome in it. 7 letters.
Surely there's a Sri Lankan with 15 letters that could beat this. We just need to get them in the squad.
Well, there is, just not as a palindrome.
It's beaten the bad. The first ball from Ralph has actually really gone through his head. He's such a player with so many expressions, this time with his head in his hands. It's the end of the over, 2 for 107. No, I meant a Sri Lankan with a palindrome with 15 letters. No, surely we can.
I look forward to that.
On socials, on YouTube, this interested handjob says, "Can we talk about Markram's biceps?" And Jay Grover says, "Yes, they are bigger than my head." Mucky Von Eric says, "Mooney bricks are red, shirt is brown, Russell's grey shirt is the finest in town." Nice bit of poetry there. Harris says, "We need jingles back. We sound too much country." Stephen Kelp says, "White Line Wireless usually has a lower jingle volume norm."
That is true, but I'll try and hit the button a few times.
I'll remind you.
No, I said Markram was on the back foot, pushing out to midwicket. There were no jingles to be had last over. It was all singles. You need a bind. Here is Nawaz to Markram. He's around the wicket. That one up. Markram's played it very nicely past the midwicket, but won't beat the long on, so he'll just get the single, 2 for 108.
Just trying to cook up a Sri Lankan palindrome for you. Dilsham Madamidan. There's probably one playing in league cricket.
I feel like Asalenka's a long little way. We just need to extend it.
Not far off.
Here is Nawaz is defended on the front foot, out to cover.
Kumar Abelwazaya Rasurelba. He's probably playing Sri Lankan league cricket.
Is that a palindrome? Did you manage to make an incredibly long word?
It's a fairly well-known one.
Oh, okay.
It refers to Napoleon.
Right. Here is Noah's round to transition around the corner to square leg for 1 run.
I saw Elba.
Uh-huh.
It's a palindrome sentence.
Yes.
But you can smash it together. It'd be a Sri Lankan number 8.
Markram's back on strike. Noah's bowling around the wicket to him as well. This one's flighted up a little bit, and Markram's going to just drive it out to a wide, deep mid-on. He looks for the second, but it's not on, so he stays back. 2 for 110. 1 ball left in the over.
Well, we might be entering the boring middle overs, but that'll suit South Africa perfectly. As long as they don't lose any wickets, they can't go wrong from here, really.
Well, exactly. It's less than 5 and over because of the scoring rate. They've gone with 15. Last ball over, and again flighted. Ben position is pushed back to the bottom for 110. 16 overs gone.
Chris says, "Even Tectoni and Hendo are sophisticated enough to play jingles." Just. Jay Grover says, "40.
Hello,
I
Jay.
watched Good Omens yesterday, and Michael Sheen's character was naggingly familiar. Then I realised it were you. You are Siri Bali. Explain yourself, Angel."
Yes, as ever, I understand, every oppost. If he's comparing me to Michael Sheen, I'll definitely take that, though.
Jeremy Henderson says, "40 taking consolation from pictures of his peak anger displacement therapy."
Thank you very much. I've got no need for therapy as an English supporter. When you're getting wiped out time and again, it's not depressing. It's the hope that kills you. Just there's no hope there.
You just return. You just pretend it's the mid-90s again, right?
Yeah, effectively it is. It's happened rather more quickly.
Here is Ralph, and it's just short of a length. And Markram's tried to hoik that over mid-wicket, and he's just beaten the outside, past the bat by quite a way, but missed the outside stump by a whisker.
Well, there are other similarities, Russ, of course. Government, which is in tatters, and a look round the corner. We've got Liam Gallagher about to come up with a new album. All right, listeners can write in with other similarities to the mid-90s, or elsewhere, for that matter. Let's not make this all about England.
Somewhat coming out of a recession, but maybe we're about to enter one at the same time. It's hard to tell.
definitely coming out.
I guess that financial crisis happened in 97, 98, so maybe we're heading towards something similar.
Yeah. Good political and historical point.
Is Ralph short of a length and Markram's 23rd man for a single? Score got to 111 for 2.
England finally had a decent football team, even though it got wiped out in the World Cup in 98. Went quite well in 96. Got a decent team again after all these years now.
Well, you can't win every tournament. Only 8 teams came up against a reasonably good side.
Oh, definitely. Though that's then lost to Argentina, who lost to the Netherlands, who lost to Brazil, who lost to France. So
They're all good sides.
they're all good sides.
Just it pushes it down to mid-on quickly, and there's a throw at the keepers. Markram was well in, so scored 2 for 112.
Of course, Aidan Markram, as well as being the longest palindrome in international cricket, is the only South African captain to have won a World Cup, admittedly at under-19 level.
Does it count?
Not really. .45 off 40, I'll take that any day of the week. It's all going swimmingly so far. There's no need to actually detect too many risks here.
Ralph, it's a very interesting pull shot there. He was mostly playing the pull and get out of the way. But his success at Markram down to fine leg for a single. It was 2 for 113.
Krishna, anything that Pakistan they're not at the moment?
I just don't think they have the quality of bowlers to do the job. It's a very unusual continental side of good stable of spin bowlers, and Pakistan don't at the moment.
Indeed.
Here's Ralph, and it's into the pads of Van Dusen. He's going to push it out to square pretty well, so they'll pick up 2. It's on the wrong hand of the deep down there. Scored a 2 for 115. I think Ralph's actually troubling them, and it's just that they're not really. The field is not set for them to basically attack them in a way that just says we're just going to attack you into the body and try and force an error.
Yeah.
And they probably need to say, well, we're not going to win this with a sort of a ring field and a few players on the boundary, which is what they're playing with. We need to be much more aggressive. Anyway, Ralph, last volley over. This is a bounce ahead, Van Dusen. I don't think it was called
wide, no.
So in 5 off, 2 for 115.
How's it looking out there, Krishna?
So on YouTube, O'Hara says, Messi, what's up, man? Are you chilling in the cave or doing some commentary today? Don't tell me you're on vacation again. Jeremy Henderson says, having a day off the microphone. I'm covering both games tomorrow, though. Yeah. Jeremy is
Messi.
Messi, right? Yeah. Samantha says, Messi's still doing laundry. Got his grandkid bringing him busy. O'Hara says, you are the man, Messi, but didn't you need therapy for the last time you did one day? Messi says, speaking of the mid-90s, a mate of mine went to see the Happy Mondays last week. Don't hit on Wednesdays.
Well, I suppose they were a little earlier in the 90s, the Happy Mondays heyday.
He's now around the wicket to Markram. He's on the back foot and pushing it to cover. They probably came out in the late 80s even, didn't they?
Yeah, it did. Bummed came out. Yeah, it actually isn't bad. It's quite interesting, but became a bit kind of dopey beat after that. For my money, anyway. I know it was very popular.
They're still kind of early Britpop, though, really, aren't they?
Well,
now as bowling, Markram pushes it out through the covers, he'll pick up a single to the deep.
It was more kind of acid, part of that kind of late 80s acid.
Oh, I meant independent Britpop.
Well,
the British getting music scene going isn't from the...
Yeah, well, I don't think the Happy Mondays were part of that. They were... It all kind of kicked off with Blur and then Pulp in 95, Reed, whole load of...
No, and Anderson's down the pitch a few steps and pushes it out to deep mid-on for a single.
It's actually rather a boring genre, to be honest, Britpop. Very backward-looking.
I found that. At the time, it sounded great, but now...
I didn't find it great.
Well, I was just coming out of my teenage years, poor thing, that's why.
Well, that's fair enough. Yeah. The early 90s scene in Britain was much more creative, in fact.
90s music turned out to be crap when you look at it in retrospect. Here's Markram, and it's slashed over extra cover for a single It's a deep point. 2 for 118.
See,
The probably overstates it, but I feel like it's my least favourite decade.
The more enduring genre was shoegaze, which came about from the late 80s and early 90s, and then was rather frowned upon and laughed at, and was replaced by the kind of laddish, garish, anthemic Britpop.
Is now as defended by Anderson at 2 point.
But if you actually listen to most interesting bands that are bubbling, actually shoegaze, who are influenced rather than 60s cliches going back
to... No lasting
No,
legacy.
because it was entirely backward-looking in Labour. Oh! we see what we did there. We sashayed into politics.
Full and driven to cover, it's fielded on the dive, and there'll be no run. End of 18 overs, 2 for 118.
Krishna.
On YouTube, Jay Grover says, and now Russ's mask slipped, coolly mocking us pure wee England fans.
I couldn't resist it because I mean, in some ways, it's the whole the zeitgeist of the mid-90s, wasn't it? No lasting legacy.
Yes, probably true. Well, look, we might get back to the music in a moment. Krishna, please carry on.
Stephen Kelk says, Happy Mondays were more part of the magic, I thought.
They were.
And it says, there was a 12th century Doge of Venice named Ordelladro.
Was that really?
Which is a pretty great palindrome name.
Brilliant.
But he was more likely a footballer.
That is brilliant, if true.
So, interesting thing here, Iran's been subbed out of this game and Usama Mir has come on.
Correct. I'm sure they would have preferred Shadow Khan, but Usama Mir, who was dropped for this game, has got his time to shine.
He's going to take 5 wickets now.
Yeah.
Prove everybody
Good
right.
on him.
Manus has come in twice as a concussion sub and done really well. So
this one, well, he's not going to do well with that because that was a massive full toss outside off stump, but unfortunately didn't just smash it straight to a fielder. He got it out to the cover boundary for a single.
That's a rank full bunga loosener.
That's a warm up. I was sitting down in the dressing room trying to ball that one.
He was very lucky to get away with it.
Second ball, this one's on a good length and turns just a little bit away from Van Duser, push it out through the cover region for a single.
Don't forget, there were great albums for us in the 90s.
Oh, I don't say there weren't any. It's just my least favourite decade of the ones of which I've been alive.
I prefer it to the 80s in terms of musical output.
Oh, no.
And I'm not talking about Britpop, and I'm not talking about grunge, both of which are very dull genres.
Here is Murray. It's pushed down through past the bowler to deep mid on, and Afridi will field down there. They'll take a single 2 for 1. You got to remember how old I am, fourth year. I'm a very big synthpop fan, so therefore the recent decade and the 80s decade are far better than the 90s, which just had nothing to speak of in that genre.
Synthpop. What about the Magnetic Fields? They were synthpop in the 90s.
We'll come back to that in a second. Whereas defending off the back foot to the covers, they were in a little bit, but it was also like not in the happy dancy way.
They're not very happy.
No,
too interesting for.
Don't get me wrong. I love the Magnetic Fields, but I don't really even associate them with the 90s,
which came out 2 months before the end of the 90s.
Yeah, I don't.
A masterpiece.
I don't consider it a 90s band. This one's full by Mirrors. Big appeal, and it's hit the leg. It's going to be.
The first of Usama Mir's 4 wickets.
It was running on. It was going to hit leg stump. He managed to get it to slide into Venedusen, who was on the back foot. They're actually, by the looks of it, going to review it. I think this is probably at best, it's probably an umpire's call.
Yeah, I think it's clipping, but I still think it will clip. That's my prediction for what it's worth. Very little in 1 minute's time.
Sama's greatest highlight in this World Cup.
Yeah, he's not true, but he was.
Day. I've got it in my.
There was a great explosion of relief of emotion as the umpire's finger went up there.
Well,
it's clearly not a no ball. Why on earth are we looking at that?
Well, Shamsi got a ton of them in the first innings, so maybe we have to. Clearly, by the wrist, kind of top spinner.
Maybe they were checking whether it was He had a spell.
Didn't really pick it. It's run into it quickly. He's played right across the line. He deserves to be out.
He deserves to be out. So it's let's just leave
morally
it at that.
out.
He's morally out. It's a moral victory for the bowler. There's a small possibility that it could just miss by shaving leg stump. It's just possible.
It's missed the bat. It's probably hit him. Actually, only hitting him on leg stump. So
and he's
on the crease.
Yeah, he's not completely on the. We're about to find out. Well, this speculation will be for naught.
Well, the whole thing's frozen up. Oh my god! In the end, it's been. Well, we're not sure what's happening.
Confusion reigns because we were just about to find out, and then the technology packed up. Now we're going to find out.
Umpire's call, as we suspected, just the very top and the very edge.
What did we say? What did we say? Just shave it by a coat of paint.
So that is the third wickets for South Africa of Anderson, who takes 21 off 39 balls, 3 for 121 after 18.5 overs.
I think it's fair to say with a decision like that, sure, he's out. The ball was going to hit the stumps. So I don't think it's actually the greatest decision looking at it. Surely would be sufficient doubt not to give that one. What do you think, Krishna?
Paul Rifle, I think, is just trying to even up this match as much as possible.
Paul Ruffle's a bowler.
I mean, it's fun. It's odd to say that because someone who comes into watching cricket fairly fresh. So what are you talking about? It's going to hit the stumps. He's given it out. And he's given the right decision. What are you talking about? I still think it was a slightly questionable one.
Yeah, but remember we said he was morally out.
We did say he was morally out, and that counts for a lot.
Yeah,
as all England knows.
And Paul Ruffle was a bowler who hit many players on the pads in a very similar way during his career, and I'm sure he wished they were all given.
Yeah, indeed. well done, Osama Mir. He's come off his gloves. He's fished around for just fished around in his kit bag to find a pair of whites. He's found them. He's come out onto the field. They're not whites, in fact.
Yeah, they
greens.
said go back in. We actually played a green today.
Take your whites off. Put your greens on. And we're away. And he's got his first wicket. It's great. Heinrich Klaasen's come in.
Yeah, the way Klaasen's been batting this tournament, he and Marco could finish this in another 15 overs, but one suspects that they probably aren't going to attack.
I'm not going to say
in this way.
Early night because it's already about 2 in the morning, but.
I didn't realise Klaasen's number 4 in the world in one-day cricket.
Which way were you surprised, Krishna, that he wasn't higher the way he's been batting?
The last ball of some of Mir's over is into the pads of Klaasen, who pushes it out to cover. It's not one for stepping across his stumps. 19
Lots of music comments on YouTube.
Good.
This interested hand job says, are you suggesting the music made after the millennium isn't probably the cruelest joke ever played upon humanity? Stephen Kelk says, at Jay Grover, behold the poison that Russ now spits. Messi says, I tend to think that taking half a dozen ES was a prerequisite for the Happy Mondays to sound good.
That's absolutely true, yeah.
And Dr. Hugh Sheridan says, 40 similarities between the mid-1990s and now. In 96, I was stressed as BP by patients demanding I write second letters to hospitals as outpatient waiting times huge. Much better by 2001.
Well, how about now? Could we draw a comparison?
Noah's continuing to mark around the wicket into his pads, and he's going to turn it around to square leg for a single. Well run. 3 for 123.
Yes, I mean, Nawaz has come into this match. He's bowled okay. Hasn't necessarily been the game changer that Pakistan might have been hoping for. Just seeing Usama Mir's reaction to.
And so far in this innings, none for 33 or 5 and a bit over. So basically going at a run ball without really showing he's going to
not really
be dangerous.
Not looking threatening. Bit of a placeholder.
For Usama Mir, who's going to take 5 wickets.
That's a given.
It's a given.
Just for the South African guys.
It's Noah's. They've got a slip in now, and Klaasen pushes this out of a single. Not really much point having a slip if you're just going to let him drive comfortably down the ground.
No, I don't really know. Do maybe Krishna? What's Noah's trying to do? What's his method of getting a wicket here? Even or is he just keeping a lid on?
I think he's keeping it tight and hoping for the batsman to make a mistake.
That's right. Yeah.
This one's to Klaasen. He defends it. Bowler takes a big tumbling dive to stop it.
Sorry, Chris.
The other noticeable thing is how much burn Shamsi got compared to the Pakistani spinners.
Yeah, good point. Do you think? Does anyone think the wickets? I don't know. Died? Is it due? Is it a skill gap? I'm sort of veering towards the latter at the moment.
No, as this one's into the pads of Markram, he can't beat the shortish fine leg, so no run. Probably missed out on one there, Markram.
I did, yeah.
Who bench pressed the most between Markram and Mitch Marsh?
I think Stoinis. He's good as that guy.
Now it's around the wicket to Markram. He's on the back foot and pushes it through the covers, and he'll pick up an easy single. Score goes on to 1-4.
Yeah, so steady as she goes, gets within the foot. Were they to lose another 3 within the next 10, then suddenly it turns into an interesting contest, but the odds are definitely against that. Last ball of the over.
Yes, it'll be Clarkson on strike. They've kept a slip in for him. Noaz. And just short of the length, and he pushes it again. Get off.
I mean, it looked like it was going to turn. It didn't. It's not spin bowling, really. It's slow bowling.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's slow bowling.
Yeah.
It's slow,
accurate
Straight breaks. Okay, so anything happening, Krishna, and then more over?
Still, for more music conversation, Ant says there was music made in the 90s that wasn't grunge or Brit.
Absolutely, 100% was.
And 80s metal is better than 90s metal. It says, yes, the 90s brought us all the great Swedish death metal. And Stephen Pelk says, after the 80s, the most interesting pop found at the interface of gothic music and trance.
That's a good point. Let me...
Turkey Bumfinger says, dance music had their revolution in their 90s.
As in Euro or something else? I guess there was a lot of other dance music in there.
There was a lot of dance music.
There wasn't a lot of
I mean, I don't dance, but I believe there was a lot of 90s dance.
Yeah, some of it was bad in retrospect.
I'm sure it was, yeah. So Simon Mir, see whether he gets his second of his 4 wickets in this over.
Here he is. It's flighted up to Clarkson says, thanks for that.
Dear.
I'll put that 5th over mid-wicket. I'm not sure whether he's going to get a no ball for that as well. But
and I suspect it was so bad it just dipped at the last minute. Because he didn't have the power to get over the weights.
He's already seeing the ball like a soccer ball. He doesn't need strength or crosses like that, does he?
Doesn't need... I mean, on your mum or your gran, I mean, no disrespect to mothers and grandmothers who play an important role in families, but come and have a bowl, come and fill in, and they have a bowl, and yeah, that's kind of one of those balls.
Well, this one's well bowled, and it's outside of stump and full. It's driven to cover.
Let me jump quickly the importance of women's cricket. And before I get overlaunched.
I don't think your grandma is necessarily represented.
No, let's keep it as grandmothers, yes. Well, how come Pakistan have gone up to 40% on the win predictor?
So advantage distance is very important to say. This one's short of a length, and Clarkson's cutting it past point. He dived over the top of it, and he'll get back for 2, taking the score on to 3 for 1 re.
Russ, I've got one.
The algorithm is screwed up there, isn't
I think so. Russ, I've got one word for you, and Krishna. Slow core.
Slow core.
Slint. Codeine. The God Machine. What a great movement that would, remember.
Except you. This one's full way mirror and it's pushed out through wide mid-off. One, which is interesting because they probably could have come back if they'd gone harder. Score goes 3-1, 3-4.
Let's think of all the great. I mean, let's buy of Neutral Milk Hotel of DJ Shadows introducing. Example, which came out in the 90s. Let's think of Belle and Sebastian, who came out in the 90s.
I love Belle and Sebastian.
Yes.
They're danceable for
Gorky's Psychotic Monkey.
Not so danceable.
Not so danceable.
This one's short and pushed. Look for the pull shot marker, but was pushed it back to the bowler. Some of his started his first and second overs with absolutely rank full tosses, and he ended with the first one at the wicket. So this is This one's it's on a good length and defended by Markram. It actually wasn't the worst call, but didn't turn enough. End of the over, 3 for 134. There are 20 gone. We're going to change, and I'm trying to work out who's actually at full change. So I'm going to play a sting, and next voice you'll hear will be Cameron Boyle.
White Line Wireless. More of this.
Maybe we should call Alistair Cook the crowbar, one of the great levers.
And less of this.
Oh! Don't you love that?
Thank you very much, Russ. Back in the Box of Dreams, joined by Anth Condon and Mog on the socials. Folks, how are we all feeling?
Well, I've specifically put my jacket on for this session to sit next to you.
Smooth man.
Because I thought,
Compare and contrast.
compare and contrast. Okay, brown,
Why have you got a blue jacket on?
brown, red, brown. Now, which of these is it closest to? I think it's closest to the purpley red. Cam's not amused.
I just came here to commentate cricket. Foolish me. Rightio, so we do have a change in the attack as Mohammad Wasim Jr. has come back in for his third over and his first to Klaasen shapes into the pads, who can only push it to square leg for no run.
Yes, of course. This is your first time on Gorilla?
Yeah, it is actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is, of course, back in the White Line Wireless days, we didn't have to worry about cameras.
No, we didn't. It actually was an unpleasant surprise for me when I came here. I certainly wasn't expecting to have my ugly mug plastered all over the YouTubes as well for plenty of other people to judge as well. I would have worn something very different otherwise. This one's a little bit shorter into the pitch here. Oh, there is risk and danger flown all over here. First of all, the risk came from the delivery as Klaasen could only chop this one off a thin inside edge right onto his foot. It rolled out gently into the offside where they decided to take a risky single. Wasim reached it quickly, had a shy at the bowler's end stumps as Klaasen was desperately trying to make it through for a single. And we're looking at the replay here. Direct hit. I reckon it would have had him.
I think there's been a few moments like that for South Africa in this innings where they've gotten lucky with some of the pressure they've tried to apply.
They've flown close to the sun that is not in the sky right now. This one is a tempter well outside off stump from Wasim, which Markram has a bit of a flash at. He just gets quite a thick outside edge and it goes down to third man for a single.
Rather odd-looking delivery, that one. Seems like it had a bit of movement out of the hand or something.
Yeah, but considering the amount of risk, danger that Pakistan faced in their innings as well, I think we can allow South Africa a little bit of a hairy moment here and there. Not quite a Glenn Maxwell hairy level of moment, but just a gentle pursuitness. And this one is quite a bit of a risk here, and yes, it is. That is the end of Heinrich Klaasen. He has gone for a pull shot, only succeeded in getting a top edge, and has flown up down towards third man, who has cupped it gleefully to his chest. That's the fourth wicket for Pakistan, sending South Africa now to 4 for 136. Still only halfway to the total.
Oh, shitty shit. This is really fucking bad.
No! Probably shouldn't have played that one because...
that was an interesting choice.
Because I can't read them from here. I'm just stabbing wildly. But I'm quite pleased with that.
Yeah. So I see.
Yes, no. I'd like Pakistan to win this if for no other reason than just makes the competition more interesting.
Yeah, it does.
Continues it on for another couple of days that we still have a potential of the top four not being the current top four.
No, a Pakistan loss here leads to a lot of dead rubbers potentially at the end of this tournament.
Yeah.
And it's already been a tournament which has lacked in closeness, in tightness, in just challenge, I guess, for the victorious teams in a lot of ways. So, I
do note that Namibia and Zimbabwe are having an interesting T20 match at the moment.
No, are they?
And,
what's the score on that?
So 138 Namibia made, and Zimbabwe are 73 after 10.
They're well ahead. Zimbabwe should win that one fairly comfortably.
Yes, so
Anyway,
a couple of teams that England might wish were at this World Cup.
we move on from Windhoek as David Miller has come to the crease in replacement of Heinrich Klaassen. Hasn't had a solid tournament. He hasn't had a huge amount of a chance to show himself because the South African top order has been brilliant. But in his opportunities, he's performed well.
34 not against Bangladesh.
Yes.
And 43 against the Netherlands.
Yep. And the first ball to Miller is a nice testing delivery outside off stump, which Miller only pushes to point for no run.
Yes. Just getting a replay of that last wicket. Forever up in the air.
And we didn't mention it as well on air, but the catch was taken by Osama Mir, who has made an impact, shall we say, in the time that he's had as a replacement player. As this slightly short of a length ball from Wazim is defended by Miller out to cover for no run. That's the end of the over. We are now 22 down. Scores 4 for 136.
There's still a lot of discussion about Brown,
God's sake.
but I think I'll just talk about grindcore, mixcore, power
Really?
violence,
I'd rather talk about Brown.
black and death metal.
More interesting.
Good music, not like this shite that Foolsy's talking about. He's not here, so I can't hear him.
No, it's a shame. It's more fun to make fun of him when he is here.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, you've all got far too high-minded taste for my liking. I grew up in the 90s, and my favourite band was Savage Garden, and I stand by that, frankly, so...
I thought one of their songs was a Michael Jackson song, but
That's
To the Moon and Back. Is that what it's
high praise. Summers staying in the attack here as he has a spinning leg break that just rips past the outside edge of Markram's bat as he tries to drive at this one. Beautifully pitched delivery here. Catching, turning, ripping just outside the edge.
Pakistan have definitely got more turn than South African spinners were, but I think that's more quality of the spinner.
This one's a little bit flatter, a bit more directed into off stump, and Markram pushes it to cover for no run. Perhaps. Shamsi was getting a little bit of turn in his spell, so I do think the wrist spinners are getting a bit more purchase out of this wicket. This one's flighted outside off stump, and it's a tempting one. Markram can't help but take a square drive, gets a thick outside edge, and it just tauntingly goes over the head of the point fielder, who just had to watch this one just sail over. Not much timing on this by Markram, so it only makes its way out to the deep, and there's 2 runs available there, but that could have been a 5th wicket there for Pakistan. Very close. This one's a little bit shorter on off stump. Markram steps back in his crease, pushes it out to long off for a single. That moves him to 45.
And I've just gone over to check the WinViz. Guess who's just tipped over into being favourites on the WinViz?
Are you telling me it's Pakistan?
It is Pakistan.
I mean, there's only 2 teams, so I would be struggling to get this one wrong.
So those last 2 wickets have taken it from about 80% South Africa.
Yeah.
Even odds, which seems about right for me.
Yeah, no, it is definitely... All options are open right now, although Miller is wanting to push that mark back in South Africa's favour. This time, Osama Mir floats this one up. Miller takes a nice stride forward, flings his bat through the line, and deposits it over long on for a 6er. Great shot.
It's great fun watching the WinViz live sometimes. Placing
5, 2 6s in a row.
Oh, that's the wrong jingle. So that took a full 1.5% of Pakistan's WinViz.
There we go. So is South
1-6.
Africa slightly favourites again now?
No, 50. It's
.556.
Okay, but what about this dot ball at the end of the over, which spins into the pads? Miller just pushes it to backward square, no run. That ends the over. South Africa 4 for 145.
O'Harris is very grateful for the jingles coming back all of a sudden.
Excellent.
Samantha G says, tease the gens as you will, but they all dress better than her husband, despite her best efforts. And Joe Grover says, I don't know about her husband, but Ant's jacket is indeed proper boss. A dapper, wee, red-headed stranger that he is.
Are you redhead as well?
I wouldn't call this red.
No, I was about to say,
Got a
mate.
bit of ginge in the beard, though.
Yeah, that's pretty usual in the beard, but
It's very turquoise, that colour.
yeah, that's exactly right.
Turquoise hair, yeah.
I'd say it's more of an aquamarine, personally,
yeah.
but
Stephen Coke says, I can't believe Cameron actually said that his favourite band was Savage Garden.
yeah, I did.
On the internet.
Yeah, live on the air for everyone.
Own it.
Yeah, I do. I'm completely comfortable with this. So Wazim, he's remaining in the attack, and Markham tries to push this one through the leg side field, but only find mid-on. Now, bear in mind, like, we've heard a lot of guff from people who like to think of themselves as more high-minded. Not me. I love pop music. I think there is something beautiful in creating something that is acceptable to a significant number of people. And good pop music is artful in its own way. Wazim strays a little bit here as this one works its way onto the hip of Markram, who attempts to swing it away with a lusty attempt at a pull, but he doesn't really get anything on it, and it can only worm its way out to backward square for a leg bye.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think there's a real talent in writing a great hook.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what a pop song is. A pop song's a hook because the rest of the pop song is fairly formulaic.
It can be quite fillerish, yeah.
Well, not fillerish. It's just most pop songs are the exact same format. You know, verse, chorus, verse, verse.
Yep.
Generic swill.
Yeah, but if you get a good hook,
oh, exactly. That is absolutely. Wazim cranks up the pace on this one. He gets a testing bouncer that just works its way past the chin of Miller as he sways back out of the way and tests out Rizwan's leaping abilities. He has to really elevate to get this one into the gloves. This was a tasty bouncer.
it almost looked like he got a little bit of an edge on that one.
Yeah, not quite on it. He sort of began to sort of move the back gloves towards it, but wisely decided to get him out of the way as this one just kept rising. This one's a slightly good length ball, which Miller can only push down to mid-on for no run.
I think also the genre exceptionalism that is this conversation, I think that's a very 20th century thing as well. You know, it's not something that I think the kids today really do too much of. It's much more common to be multi-genre, have a taste that is multi-genre.
Yeah, agree. Another delightful short here.
Oh.
There's a lot of interest from Pakistan. A lot of interest. It's quite similar to 2 balls ago, where it rising sharply from short of a length. Miller's caught between putting his bat towards it and swaying out of the way.
So I was less convinced by that one.
Yeah, it looks like there was nothing on it. There was a lot of interest from behind the wicket, especially from Rizwan, but after a quick discussion between the Pakistani leaders and infielders, decided no, they don't think there's anything on this one. I tend to agree. It didn't look live action like it had kissed the edge or the gloves, but definitely interest. Another excellent bouncer from Wazim. Last ball of the over is a little bit wider outside off, punched hard towards cover, who just parries it, stops it well though, prevents there from being any more runs. That's an excellent over from Wazim, only the single leg bye from it, keeping a bit of pressure here on South Africa.
Yeah, 2 for 14 off 4 was
Yep,
so
2 14 on 4, bowling very well, and South Africa is 4 for 146.
I'm not really down with the kids in terms of what they listen to, but based on my brief experience of music channels, I'm not sure they're actually listening to music at all. It's just atonal drones with the occasional drum beat.
No, see that's
T-Pain
so
style
basically
vocal
you're old, and that's the thing that happens. That's when you start saying all of the kids' music sounds like garbage.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, people are making a bit of fun of somebody liking Savage Garden.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Simon Mears remaining in the attack. His first one's a little bit short outside off, which Markram cuts out to the deep point fielder, and they run through for a single.
I think it speaks to a purity of heart.
Thank you.
That is keeping this room together now to combat the darkness of Mog and Russ. Comments from the Supercoach.
This one's a slightly poor delivery from Mir, a bit shorter onto the hip of Miller, who can easily work it down. Not work it down, flicks its way off his thigh pad for a single leg bye.
I never really understood the listening to the one style of music. It's like, how can you always be in that mood?
That's a fair point. This is flighted up beautifully from Mir. Markram leans forward, though, and pushes this one down to long off for another single.
Like, I like Iron Maiden, and that gets me really charged up, excited, ready to do things. But if I play that in the car,
probably a bit
the amount of very close calls I've had whilst driving to Iron Maiden, because I turn into a fucking maniac.
Slightly full-length delivery here on middle from Mir, which Miller then works through the vacant mid-wicket region out to the boundary rider there, and they take another single. That moves South Africa up to 150 now.
I don't know how you'd go listening to Cattle Decapitation or an Al-Nathrak then.
Well, probably not in the car.
This is a well-flighted, teasing delivery from Mir, just spinning out outside from off-stump, which Markram can only defend out to cover for no run.
Anything that's using a double bass pedal is dangerous.
If it's slower than 190 BPM, I don't listen to it.
This one's well and truly flighted wide outside off-stump, which Markram tries to sort of flay this one through the offside. He gets an outside edge, and again this one just goes over the heads of the gully fielder there, just over again. But it rolls its way to the boundary rope for 4, which also takes Markram to a half century. He is now 52 from 50 deliveries. That's the end of Mir's over. And it's a 4 for 154.
Socials?
Jack Rover says, quite intelligently, take a leaf out of Napalm Death and Disinterested Handjob's book. If your song is 25 seconds long, you don't need no stinking hook.
Fair point.
Kieran Roseblade still doesn't know what the Box of Dreams actually is.
It's state of mind. That's well put.
Yeah, and Messy Jess says, purity of heart has no place in the Box of Dreams. Get some life experience and come back once you're fucked up. Thank you very much.
I mean, we're only talking about my music taste here. In other respects, I'm an utter degenerate, but my music taste is that of 11-year-old me in some respects. The Wazim spell continues. This one's wider outside off, which Miller attempts to punch between the gap between mid-off and cover. He gets it pretty well, but mid-off, running around hard to their right, dives and just cuts this off. Just preventing the boundary there. Still enables Miller to come back for 2. See, people often look at bands sometimes who, for some reason, had an early end to their career for any number of reasons and wonder what could have been. Savage Garden produced 2 albums, both of which great, and then disappeared into the ether, leaving us just with questions in their absence. As another shorter testing delivery from Wazim to Miller has him kind of trying to play this one, but also choosing to sway out of the way as it goes through to the keeper.
I think one of those dudes is a writer. Writes a lot of songs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, one of them, the non-singer. So Daniel Jones married a member of High Five. For those who also like their kids' bands.
No Wiggles.
They're no Wiggles. So they're a solid mid-tier option for those who enjoy that kind of thing. But yes, you're absolutely right. No Wiggles. Wazim again tests out the middle of the pitch to Miller. This time, Miller does manage to get some connection on the ball as he tries to glide it down to third man, but he gets a lot more on it than he thought, and this lands not too far short of third man as it flies off the face of the bat.
Notice that Markram's batting with a towel, which is something I've seen a couple of players do during this tournament, but it's not something I've ever really noticed before. Got his towel tucked into his
I must say
hands.
I haven't actually picked that up until now.
Well, there was I can't remember who it was. It might have been one of the Pakistan players, one of the early matches, but was playing with it tucked into the back. So you could get yourself into trouble doing that.
Wazim has a fuller delivery angling into leg stump, which Markram pushes to mid-on for no run.
Markram obviously so sweaty, which you can see.
Yeah, he's a glistening man.
Yeah, it's not as sweaty as the Kiwis though, who I think are the sweatiest team in the tournament.
I mean, to be fair, the average temperature in New Zealand is approximately, 12 arse end of a polar bear, so they do probably sweat a little bit once they get to these conditions. Oh, Markram thinks he sees something he likes here from Wazim. It's a slightly short of a length delivery, which Markram wants to pull into the next suburb, but just holds up off the pitch a little bit here.
That two pace there, wasn't it? It was a 141-kilometre delivery, but it looked slow going.
It did look slow coming off the pitch. So either it's really hit a slow spot, or I reckon he's probably rolled the fingers across this one, just put a bit of an off cut on it, and it's just held up a little bit, which means that Markram was through the shot very early, and it bounced a couple of times before making its way through to Rizwan. This one is a bit more of Markram's taste. Wazim tries again with the shorter ball, but this one comes onto the bat a lot more nicely, allowing Markram to swivel through this one, play it hard and high over mid-on, couple of bounces over the rope for 4.
110 off 144 now. It's it is starting. The wind is out to 57 for South Africa, and it's starting to feel like Pakistan are going to have to take this in wickets.
Yeah, wickets is the only way that Pakistan win this game. Any amount of time that Markram and Miller spend out in the middle will generally equate to runs. So, yeah, a partnership breaker is needed probably in the next 2 to 3 overs. Otherwise, yeah, it's not impossible. Wickets can occur quickly. On this ground, it is a tough place for batters to work themselves in, as we've seen throughout this match. So, if they can break this partnership, we're into, Jansen's coming up next to quality batter, but yeah, there's a deepish tail there. Osama stays in the attack, and his first delivery is pushed back to him by Miller.
Can't see after that. Can't see. So Markram's 56 of 53. Miller 10 of 14.
Miller decides to go for a mighty oink. He has gone for the slog sweep and timed it beautifully. This has gone for a massive 6.
2, 4, 6.
That was huge, wasn't it? That's a Miller, that one. So, brings up to 16 of 15.
Yeah, he'd been getting a little bit tied down there by Osama. Just really struggling to get much that he was liking from him. This one had a little bit more air in it from Osama Mir, and Miller took full toll.
Just having a little conference in the centre of the pitch. Markram is what a chunky lad, isn't he? Massive arms on him. Shoulders. Right, we're getting back into playing positions now.
This one's a little bit flatter, push towards leg stump, and Miller just works it to mid-wicket. Can't beat the field, no run.
Who would win in a fight, Markram or Stoinis?
Probably depends whose roids have you nicked.
Stoinis.
Stoinis wins then.
Oh, this is a delivery well down the leg side and is called wide by the umpire. Free run for South Africa. It depends on what type of fighting we're talking here. If we're talking a straight up boxing match, I'm backing Stoinis. If we're talking like a UFC style, mixed martial arts fight, I'm going back to Aiden Markram. As this one's... I will explain as this ball is pushed back to the bowler. Stoinis's chest is so large, I'm not convinced that he could ever actually wrap his arms around himself to put anyone in a sort of hold or anything like that. So he'd kind of just be limited to just swinging his arms in the vague direction of Markram. As the final ball of the over, half volley outside off stump, is driven firmly by Miller, but only straight to mid-off for no run.
I do believe we have one more ball over.
Oh, that's my bad.
I can tell you it's going to be a dot, though.
It was a wide. There was a wide in there. I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. The actual last ball of the over spins onto the pads of Miller, who tries to work it down into the leg side, but can only find short fine leg. No run. That's the end of the over. After 27, it's 4 for 168. Markram on 56, Miller 16.
Apropos of what we've been discussing, Kieran Roseblade asks, have the White Line wireless guys gone through enough obscure topics to be able to talk about cricket again? No.
Excuse me.
Jeff Perkins says, Anth probably listens to Gary Newman in his car. It's where he feels safest of all.
Here in my car, I feel safest of all.
Pokey Bumfinger, his dad loved George Formby, the ukulele-loving twat.
Not aware.
Talking about washing windows and being a peeping Tom.
Yep.
I mean, the ukulele's a terrible instrument, so that's one thing I think we can all agree on.
It really is. I tell you what, the ukulele can work if you get a ukulele orchestra. You get 50 ukuleles and they start sounding good.
That just makes it 50 times worse.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I was shocked. I was shocked when I played in one.
Why did you willingly put yourself in this scenario? Wazim's remaining in the attack, and Markram has pushed this one, forced it off the back foot, pretty much straight back past the non-striker, and it works its way down to long on for a single.
I'll play anything, any instrument in any style. It's an excuse to have a jam.
There is some cricket stuff that I do want to kind of leave for the next people along, because this World Cup has not necessarily been as good as a World Cup can be in a lot of ways. It's struggled. And there has been some talk of what's the ongoing viability of the 50-over World Cup game.
Indeed.
If it might die, I'm going to start choosing to remember good moments of 50-over World Cups. And this is a wide delivery outside off stump, which is pushed hard by Miller. It goes into the square and bounces up, but the cover leaping there just gets a hand on it and means they can only get a single instead of the potential boundary. So, we've been lucky to see lots of great moments over World Cup history. And for me, Pakistan, I like to remember lots of things, but I'm going to choose to give a shout out to Wahab Riaz and his multiple bounces to Shane Watson in the 2015 World Cup for a favourite Pakistan memory. Wazim, in the spirit of Wahab Riaz, tries a fast, dangerous bouncer here that flies past the helmet of Markram, but flies so high that Mohammad Rizwan struggles to gather it, leaping behind the stumps. He can only just get the top of his gloves to it, and it kind of drops behind him, allowing them to run for for not a bye, but a wide. This one is too high over the head of the batters, and they've given a wide, so an extra couple of free runs for South Africa.
Yeah, I'm not good with remembering specific moments. Had a few too many head injuries for that. But for me, it's always been those underdog stories when one of your associate nations pulls one over one of the big boys. They're my stories of World Cups, and I just haven't been given the opportunity to see that. We have the Netherlands, and that's it.
Oh, tempting delivery here. Just outside off stump from Wazim to Miller is edged, and it would have gone straight to where second slip would have been, but is not, and instead only goes to the boundary for 4.
Yeah, not a lot of risk in that shot.
I mean, at this stage, slips are, they're rare.
Yep.
So, yes, an outside edge is probably not the riskiest shot, but still, I don't think that's quite where he meant for that to go. Again, outside off stump. Wazim's pushing into the offside. Miller's pushing into the offside here from Wazim, but only straight to cover for no run. Yeah, so I'm going to sort of use the time that I have in the White Line Wireless box of dreams to talk about World Cup memories as well for the teams that are playing. South Africa have many interesting potential memories, but I'm going to choose to be nice here and focus on positive ones for South Africa. As there's a bouncer here from Wazim, which Miller just ducks under. And I'm going to give a shout out to Lance Klusner in the 1999 World Cup, who reached just a level of magnificence in that tournament. He took, I think, 17 wickets over the tournament and scored somewhere between 200 250 runs at a strike rate of 120. Changed every game that he took part in. It was one of the rare sort of most singular pieces of dominance that I've seen from a single cricketer in a tournament, and almost willed South Africa towards victory as the last ball of the over has Miller flashing outside off stump. This time, Pakistan do have a second slip in, but instead of going gently to second slip, this one flies just over the outstretched leaping hands of Iftikhar. Goes in for a painful boundary for Pakistan. That ends the over, 4 for 180, as I say farewell, and we bring in some new people to chat to you.
Yes, so before the Bennett and Krishna.
Hi everyone. So while we change over, just some comments coming through on YouTube. Jay Grover says, Markram by TKO, Zampa would pull Stoinis off, screaming, leave him, Marcus, it's not worth it. Jeff Perkins says, Stoinis reps. Jay Grover says, I am now going to put on my fighting trousers. And disinterested handjob says, Professor Elemental.
Very good.
Grover says, proper mint.
Proper mint, yeah. That does sound like Jay. Don't know whether anyone else uses mint in quite such the prolixity that Jay does. It's nice to have the local dialect reflected there. We've got just having a look at the lineup. Yeah, Krishna. Yeah, me. Yeah. No, Bennett. So we've got Ant stepping into the frame. Okay, Iftikhar time. He went for 15 off his first 2 overs. He's back into the fray. Can he be? He's a mystery spinner. I think the mystery will be if South Africa manages to throw this one away. Ant? It's hard to see it going any other way.
First 2 overs so far. I think I might be muted. Am I?
No, we can hear you.
Yep.
Oh, we can hear you all right. We can hear you all right. First ball played out to point by Markram off Iftikhar's third over. Dot ball.
The mystery spin is that he bowls a lot of nude balls, I think.
Yes. That is a conventional off spin which didn't turn a great deal. Just played down to long on. Salman does the fielding. And it's just single.
Markram on 58 off his 56 deliveries, and Miller 25-24.
Both ahead of, both into triple figures in terms of their strike rate. And South Africa are down to needing just a little over 4 and over here. They are cruising it as long as something extraordinary doesn't happen. And that's just played off his pad by Miller. I mean, gone are the days when a team gets really bogged down from this stage, and certainly this team isn't going to get really bogged down. It has to be wickets for Pakistan from here out, I would say.
Yeah, I was thinking earlier that watching South Africa tonight, that this is what England were trying to do yesterday.
Don't know what they were trying to do. Go home early, I think. That's played off the hips by Miller for a single in a gap where it's not really a square leg, so two men converge on it.
I mean, you only get home like 5 days early or something.
Yes, yeah.
You don't make it to the knockouts.
Gosh, just thinking how depressing it must be. It's like being in a team that's bound to get relegated. Just think how depressing the dressing room must be. Still, they've had some good times in the past, so they can reflect on those. In comes Iftikhar again, and that's an inside-out shot, way over, long offside by Markram. And it's been a while, but we've got one of these. Don't think I've played that one before.
I think I've heard that one before. I definitely have, because I listened to them all to choose which ones to put on the sound.
So, are you the curator of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The curator of the jingles.
So I'm the one who is responsible for cutting them all down.
Mm-hmm. That's played back to the bowler, Markram, dot ball, and that's the end of Iftikhar's third over. It was going well apart from the one ball, so he's gone for 8 off it. He's number 23 off 3. The end of the 29th over, South Africa 188 for 4. Krishna.
Stephen Kelk says, any thoughts about tomorrow's New Zealand versus Australia game, gentlemen?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. It's an interesting one.
Yes, and Leo says, he said something in German, and I'm not going to even try pronouncing that. I'm sorry. Says, I overuse mint because my imagination fails when it comes to positive adjectives.
Is that? I don't think that's German that Leah's talking there, is it? She's talking about a local dialect.
Wouldn't be surprised. It's a native tongue. We're just a bit more of a bit. New Zealand, what are the locals feeling?
I think it's a big game for both of them.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see New Zealand take that. Indeed, I'd like to see New Zealand take the whole tournament.
Yeah.
I think they're due.
Very modern.
And
not to be nationalistic, well done.
Yes, well, it's a bit dull being too patriotic with the sports.
Yeah, last refuge of the scandal.
I mean, I do get it. It helps investment. It's easier to watch a game that you're invested in one side over the other.
It's actually harder though, isn't it? You're more passionate about it, but it makes it harder to watch. Krishna, how are you seeing New Zealand, Australia?
Yeah, Australia should be stronger with Travis Head hopefully coming back into that team. It will be interesting to see who they leave out. I assume that it'll be Marnus, but I had some discussion that maybe it's Steve Smith, but I can't imagine that they leave Steve Smith. Somewhere along the line, the fast bowlers are going to need a break as well. They've played all 3 fast bowlers in all games, and they're going to start feeling it soon.
Yes, I saw a passing headline this morning that Smith was shocked and angered by his demotion. I thought, my God, they have dropped him at last. It turned out he'd been asked to bat at number 4 instead of number 3. Right?
They're all prima donnas, aren't
exactly.
I must say, I do like Steve Smith as a batsman more than a captain.
And as a conversation, you think he'd be fun?
I think if you talk about cricket, he seems to
talk about anything else apart from cricket.
I wouldn't have him on my dinner invite.
No, God. So I've got Shakespeare, I've got Jesus Christ, I haven't got Steve Smith as the third all-time invitee. And I suppose, maybe Shakespeare would struggle to talk about cricket because it hasn't really got going. There's a bit of cricket, though.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest with you, I haven't really heard enough from Steve Smith to appreciate his wider thoughts and intellectual capacity.
Yeah.
But I do know he's quite a cricket nerd, so...
He's definitely that. Just having a look at the screen, and they're referring to some game from the past with Lance Klusener, and they've spelled Lance Klusener wrong, I think. I'm right, there's an E in the middle, isn't there, between the S and the N? Yes. But for God's sake, of the standards. Sometimes you're just watching the TV and a little ticker tape comes along the bottom. It's peppered with spelling errors.
Well, it's because nobody employs editors anymore.
True. Very, very true. So, I suppose also, these days there's just an awful lot more stuff you have to get on the screen very rapidly.
Yes.
Which is fair enough. We're just having a look at who's to come in the batting order. So, Janssen and Kirtzi
those little visual stings, they're the kind of things you'd have prepared before.
Yeah, well, quite, yeah.
That really is a bit unexpected. It's not someone tapping away.
It doesn't more than one piece. It's a fairly long tail.
Probably not. No, it
Probably not. It's a fairly long tail with Maharaj and Shamsi and Nagidi and Rabada, I guess. But it probably won't.
At 4 for 136, Pakistan were a chance, and I was listening to the radio broadcast, and Waqar Yunus was on air, and he was getting very excited.
Yeah,
at that
and
point.
that's absolutely fair enough. But I can't see it at 4 for 188.
Well,
No, they
4
just
for 1.
snuffed it out.
At 4 for 136, the win probability was 50-50, and it's now 86-14.
I mean, the algorithm's win probability was that. I think anybody who knows
I don't know. I think it's been pretty fair. I think if you look at the squiggles, I think that's the story of this game, is that there's been periods where Pakistan have been in it, and then there's been periods where South Africa have looked dominant.
Have you ever really felt that Pakistan are going to win this game?
No, I felt like they were in it though.
Yeah, they're in it.
I don't think they're in it anymore.
Conceivably. I mean, it won't be much longer that they're not in it, but two quick wickets now, obviously, the old cliche.
You know, if they
and things would change, but
2 quick wickets when they were, you know, if you were
1
talking
3 6 4, that would put them in the ascendancy, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah.
Yes, that's one of the things Jeff Lemon told me about judging a cricket match is add 2 wickets and 20 runs. See how much that changes your opinion.
That's the old Jeff Boycott formula.
Yeah, Boycott used to do that.
Yeah. 2 Jeffs. Shaheen Shah Afridi back into the attack. Start of his 5th over. It's now or never, really, so I understand why Afridi's bowling right now. It's shy at the stumps as they came through for a quick single.
Yeah,
no suggestion of a run out.
It looked like it was worth a throw, though. It wasn't the most aggressive running there. It was a bit meandering. Is anything going on?
They hit the stump a lot tonight, Pakistan, just not when there was actually a run-out opportunity.
Yeah, well, they've shown their enthusiasm. That's good. Got Netherlands, Bangladesh tomorrow night. And what, New Zealand, Australia, Sunday night, is it? Or tomorrow night?
No, tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow afternoon, that's right.
Early game.
And that's a slow into the wicket, well, I guess, slow ball, which Markram just watches go past his chest. The question was it a wide? Apparently it was.
The good thing that game in Dharamshala is during the day. I think as the weather cooled down in the north of India, a night game would make it very susceptible to fog and whatnot. So it's a good idea to have it early on.
That was never a wide, by the way. That was well within the tram lines. Very harshly done by, I think, there, Afridi. He's in again. He's got to bowl it again. That one's absolutely pinged on middle stumps, defended by Markram. No problem.
Well, it was the Dharamshala game the other night that we had that fog.
We had the cloud, yeah,
correct. Yes.
It wasn't actually fog, it was cloud. I don't think I've ever quite seen that before.
Low-level cloud, yes.
Yeah. So it was from above rather than below. It was spectacular. I suppose the real threat there was to be a fieldsman. Probably the bowler and the batsman could see each other, but it's coming out of the cloud. It could clunk you on the head. And Markram goes to play a pull, does play a pull, but sort of it's a check pull down to a deep square leg, so he just comes through for the single, didn't follow through with it, but just guided it there.
Had to wait for it to get there.
Yeah, it's another slower ball from Afridi. He's obviously decided this is the way to go on this surface. And, you know, that's a legitimate tactic to keep the runs down. Probably ain't going to get you too many wickets. I mean, a miscue shot up into the Chennai sky can work.
That felt like a lot of the way that South Africa was bowling, as though their real big tool in the attack was the variation of the pace with this two-pace pitch, and that was what was, they had lots of catch positions set, and that was what they were going for.
Afridi in again. Markram just plays it out to point. David Miller. Who's an explosive batsman. Going to South Africa, it's all come together rather well for them in this tournament. We wondered why we ever asked them. I remember Simon Dool before the tournament. They went round and said, "Who do you think's going to win?" He said South Africa. One or two of the other commentators were laughing at him, but they're not laughing now. They look like the, I don't know, what you say, second favourites behind India at the moment?
Yeah, probably. Them in New Zealand.
New Zealand would have a say. Comes Afridi. Puts a little bit more oomph into that one, not the slower ball. Miller just shapes out the way. 2 for the over.
We haven't had the New Zealand-South Africa game yet, have we?
I always lose track with these things.
I'll just
Lose track. Get a bit punch drunk with so many matches.
Yes.
Freedy in again. He's got a bowl because of the earlier wide in the over. This will be the 7th ball. Always feels a bit annoying for a batsman if he gets out to a 7th ball. But that's not the case. Forward defensive. Dot ball at the end of the 30th over. South Africa 191 for 4, Krishna.
So Leah says, in regard to the German local dialect previously, that's a parody, bad German accent English, like in LOLO, or some of the Monty Python sketches.
Okay, gotcha.
And Samantha G says, I don't think I have an accent, but I get called out on it on a regular basis.
Everyone has an accent.
Jay Grover says, on a list of least angry things in the world, a shocked and angry Steve Smith comes pretty near the top. And Disinterested Handjob says, luckily I'm accent-free too. Samantha asks, within Australia, are there regional accents? Yes, definitely there are.
There are regional accents, but it's more
class-based.
It's more class-based, yes.
I mean,
there's three recognised Australian accents. There's the cultivated, the broad, and the general.
Yeah.
And so what I'm talking now, this would be the general. And then the broad one's one that goes like that. And the cultivated one is the one that you pronounce all your consonants.
The Adelaide accent. And that's quite interesting. Harris Ralph back into the attack, start of his 6th over. Markram just plays the softest of hands, and so soft, one of those where it's played into the surface, and just for a moment he wondered whether it was going to come back onto his wickets.
And then linguists have started talking about a 4th accent now as well, which is sort of that Western Melbourne, Western Sydney accent. So
is that distinct from? How did you describe the broad?
Your ethnic accent.
The ethnic accent.
That belongs to it.
Okay. Oh, that's scooped into the air, a leading edge from Markram, which was Harris Ralph rails at the gods. Why me? Why not out? But it fell about 5 yards short, in fairness. Of if he'd have sort of backed himself maybe and got a short fielder in there, it might have been different.
An accent I could name if it was just us in the room, but if there are English people, if we're broadcasting to England, it's involved.
I'm
words
English.
I can't say. Oh, but I can say that word to you in Australia. I can't say that word in England. So.
What word? Anyway, is there a taboo word? And that's pulled by Markram round the corner to deep square. We're fairly thick-skinned when it comes to these things. Have to be.
It's just that the Italian and Greek and wider
I
Mediterranean
know
community have taken ownership of that word.
Yeah, I get it. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's quite a shock when you come to Australia to hear the W word used. But it's got a totally different meaning. So that's the nature of language, isn't it? Words have got no intrinsic meaning or power, but they have it invested in them by different cultures at different times.
I mean, it's largely all one guy. It's largely all Nick Giannopoulos is the reason why that word got reclaimed.
Well, as soon as I arrived in Australia,
He wrote Wogs Out of Work. He wrote Wogorama. He wrote Wog Boy.
He did, yeah, but. I mean, I heard Italians and Greeks talking about themselves as that as soon as I arrived. I was very surprised and then got used to it. That's cuts down to third man by Miller for a single. And the reason we're talking about regional accents is because we're in the boring middle overs. Not a great deal is happening. South Africa are just ticking over. They're 193 for 4 balls into the 31st over. Harris Ralph is bowling. He's getting a little bit of his mojo back, but he's been allowed to. Because Markram and Miller are just playing within themselves. They know they've got all the time in the world to get 78 of 116. He's back in. Here's Harris Ralph, and he digs it in.
That'll be a
And
wide.
that will probably be a wide. Right, it looks like Paul Rifle has taken pity on him, and it's just a dot, which compensates for the wide in the previous over, which, in my opinion, was not a wide.
He's keeping a little ledger in his mind.
Actually, that very precise accent, I can't remember quite how you described it, the very proper accent.
Cultivated.
You don't actually hear that very often. It's gone rather out of fashion, the
Newsreaders.
the English accent, the received pronunciation newsreader. You don't hear it on the street hardly at all.
No.
That is played a little airily by Markram, who will keep the strike. He just gets it out to the sweeper on the boundary for a single. He moves on to 67 off 65. And at the end of the 31st over, South Africa 194 for 4, Krishna.
There's continuing discussion about accents. This interested handjob says Adelaide accents are different to Brisbane. Joe Grover says, Mog, I don't want to assume anything, but I'm guessing you've heard of A-D and the gang. I think it's called the gang. If not, give him a look. This interested handjob also says, Bubba looks like Molly Strano with a beard and monobrow.
Right, yeah.
Samantha says, thanks, gents. I appreciate the knowledge, referring to the accents. And Jeff Perkins says, I thought the two Aussie accents were drunk and sober.
No, that's
very good.
That's broad and general. Yeah.
Very good.
I will switch between. I will code switch definitely, and especially if alcohol's involved.
Oh, that's a nice cut. Oh, just falling short actually of the man at third
Rubbish
man.
delivery.
It's terrible delivery by Shane Afridi. I mean, he's trying to take pace off it. He's putting it into the pitch, but he got it far too wide there. And it was relatively easy for Markram to pick up a single. Played it down to third man.
One of the interesting thing about the Adelaide accent is how they pronounce their double O's. That's the really noticeable thing. So Q and skew.
I'll tell you an interesting one I
Q
found
skew.
is
And then they have
that
blue ones.
the word that we would only ever pronounce with one syllable in English, yeah, for example, I sometimes hear even newsreaders say yeah and turn it into a double syllable word. Yeah. Or yeah, it's been really hot.
Well, that's how the Australian no is a no. You can get 3 syllables out of it if you try hard enough.
That's a dot ball. Oh no, it's not. It's a single played. Sorry, my apologies. Played down to David Miller too. The man at mid-off, and either him or someone else has got a touch of the cramp. Babar's holding his foot, which is in the air, as it often is. There was a bit of yes, no, and there was a shot at the stumps. It would have been quite interesting for a moment because of the misfield. They ran on the misfield, and it would have been out. And of all the times,
they missed the stumps when they needed to hit them.
Exactly, Krishna.
And it was
the point you were
fielder
making
who's gone
earlier.
down with the cramp, so I imagine that's probably got something to do with the misfield.
It's
Half cramp, by the look of it.
one of the Mohammeds, isn't it? Is it who's coming?
It was him Junior, I think.
Mohammed was him Junior, yeah. No doubt the conditions are conducive to cramp. No doubt about that. And cramp, feels like it's not a terrible injury. It's bloody painful if as we all know, if we're woken up in the middle of the night with it.
Especially if you saw that one when he was lying there without Babar stretching his foot. It's sort of his foot was doing that kind of thing, bending to the side.
Right.
And so it's one of those cramps where it's pulling everything into a funny position as well. They're the real painful ones.
Physios come on. I'll tell you an interesting thing about accents. My wife always used to comment, whenever I used to go back to my hometown to watch football matches, she claimed my accent changed when I was amongst my people, as it were, and I got closer to the ground, closer to all the memories from the old sporting team and so on, and then she claimed my accent went backwards to my youth.
Well, I'm kind of the opposite, because my accent gets broader the further away I get from Australia.
No.
Yes, and I will never have as broad Australian accent as when I am drunk with other Australians in another country.
Yeah. All bets are off when you're in another country. How about you, Krishna? How would you describe your accent journey?
When I speak to my Aussie friends, I speak with an Aussie accent. When I speak to my Indian family, like my parents, I speak with a very strong Indian accent. Much to the point where my Aussie friends will say, "Are you speaking English?"
Really? Could you give us, say, if you were I'm not going to put you on the spot.
I struggle to actually when I'm not amongst Indian
But you're not
people,
amongst them,
I struggle
yes.
to-
Yeah, right, yeah.
I get a little bit infected by people around me's accents.
That's quite common, isn't
Especially
it? Yeah,
people, like if I'm hanging out with nothing but Kiwis,
Yeah,
then you'll start thinking I'm a Kiwi after a couple of hours.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's natural, isn't it? They say, I think, isn't there a sliding scale? If you move to another country at the age of 7, you'll pick up the accent almost in its entirety. Sliding all the way up to 17, where you'll, broadly speaking, keep your original accent. So, for example, Henry Kissinger spoke with a guttural, thick German accent in America. But his younger brother, I think he was 4 or 5 years younger than him, spoke perfect English, as it were, perfect American English, because couldn't remember the old land.
And my auntie came out here when she was 21, and she's been out here 50 years now. And she has her Finnish accent. The same
Finnish?
as when she got here. yeah, very, very thick.
The Finno-Ugrit accent.
Yes.
But David Miller took the opportunity to have a back rub as well while that call was going on.
That seems a bit cheeky, doesn't it? They do. Can't really blame them, I suppose.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to need a nice bath and a massage after this game.
We're back. Shaheen Shahafridi is at the top of his mark. He's 3 balls into his 6th over. It's 196 for 4, for 31.2 overs. South Africa just needs 75 from 112. Should be a gimme from here, but sometimes a break can disrupt the concentration. Markram tried to pull that one, and perhaps as a result of the breaking concentration, missed it entirely.
They need a bit of luck, I think.
Yeah.
That's for this game to at least get a little bit tighter.
Yeah, a ball that ricochets off someone's pad. Could be anything, really.
An inside edge, a top edge, something.
Yeah. It's a flick from the bowler as it comes straight back him onto the stumps. There's many different ways of making your luck in cricket. That's what Pakistan need. And that's crashed by Markram straight to the man who's in at a short cover point with Babar himself.
Yes, I think South Africa probably had the better of the luck tonight. At the end of the day, they've been just stronger. They've been stronger, and so the luck hasn't mattered as much. They could have afforded to have lost a few more wickets by now.
They're going to need a hell of a lot of luck from here. That's into the pitch again by Afridi, but it's really essentially sits up to be smashed through the offside. Not all the way. They come back for 2. And this is reasonably economic bowling for the last few overs from Pakistan, and that's irrelevant. They need his wickets.
Not yet the highest partnership of the match.
Okay, yeah.
That was Shaquille and Shadab.
Shaquille.
Made 84 in their partnership.
What's the partnership?
Partnership's
Threatened,
63 or 62.
Threatened to be even bigger, of course. Afridi in again, pulled. He's got his eye in now, but straight to the man at deep square because he hit it so hard and so straight. He's just gone for the single. He'll keep the strike. So Markram back on strike at the beginning of the 33rd over, the end of the 32nd. South Africa 199 for 4. Are we having a little swapsy?
I think we are due. No. Yes.
Yeah, we are due. Right. Okay.
So
I shall make way.
So we should have Bennett on ball by ball,
take my spot.
Cameron on special comments, and Russ is doing socials.
Fantastic. Greetings, everybody, whoever who's tuning in. Greetings all, and welcome back to Cameron as we're getting through the last stages of this game. Pakistan in number 5, 5th position. They played 5, they've won 2, they've lost 3, and they've got 4 points. They're sitting right behind Sri Lanka, who's slightly ahead of them on net run rate. Cameron, very important game for them. Hello, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Fantastic. I've changed my pink t-shirt just in case.
Looking very sharp.
I'm ready to come late. Right, so it's Harris Ralph who's in charge of the operations, and he comes in, and this one's tucked away towards the mid-wicket area. There's no chance of a run. Aidan Markram, a very well composed innings here from Aidan. 71 off 71, 72 required from 107 balls. South Africa way on target at the moment. The approach has been very much different to when they bat first, isn't it, Cameron? Let's hold that thought for a minute as Ralph comes in. And this one shortish outside the off stump. And on the back foot, punches beautifully away through the cover point area to the vacant boundary there for a boundary. Aiden Markham's off to 75 now, 2 or 3 for 4. Cameron.
It's been an approach that's befitted the game that's been presented to them. They knew that chasing 271, they didn't necessarily need to go for the fireworks style of batting to get there, and they also knew that if they did take too many risks early, it risks exposing their middle order to a pitch which is challenging to get in on.
That's a good observation, and this one's driven on the onside, over pitched on the back foot, driven elegantly, and this one's picked towards boundary area by Iftika, and the batters have enough time to have a couple of runs, cup of tea and a biscuit as well in the process, loads of time. But I wonder which approach they fancy. Do they fancy chasing? Do they fancy putting up a gigantic score on the board? Their net run rates looking very, very healthy as well, which gives them a bit of a chance to play around with. But isn't it better to also try to see how they can chase in case if they find themselves in this position in the semi-finals or in the other game? Shortish delivery on the back foot, placed towards the mid-wicket area, no chance of run. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because I do think that teams do want to have the capacity to be able to game plan and game play out for a range of different scenarios. So you're right, a match such as this, which has tested South Africa's ability to chase a not super challenging but mildly challenging target.
This one's wayward. Poor bowling by Harris Ralph, trying to generate some extra pace, wayward down the leg side and moving further away, and he seems to be not happy with the decision. Well, not sure what he's unhappy about. He's questioning the decision for a wide, but as they're wondering if there's an edge there, but the wicketkeeper Mohammad Rizwan is not interested. Markham on 77. And the interesting point here, Cameron, is that their net run rate is a very healthy, fat 2.370.
Yep.
It's way above the closest that any other team is at the moment. So perhaps this is a good position to be in, try to get out of their comfort zone and try to see how they can chase the target score here. This one's on a middle and length, slightly on a shorter length there, as on the back foot goes Aiden Markham and plays it towards the extra cover area. No chance of a run. And I feel that... Sorry, Kevin, go on.
I was going to say, because if you take this further and suggest that this might be an opportunity for South Africa to potentially start looking at how they can play different types of cricket to see, whether they have the ability to win in a range of scenarios, you risk tampering with your form. And they're playing excellent cricket right now. Is that something worth challenging?
Ralph comes in steaming in, generating a bit of pace. You can sense he's looking to bowl quick, shortish delivery. On the back foot goes Markham into the covers. No chance of a run. 2 or 6 for 4. We'll come back to the thought in a second, Cameron. Russ, what are our viewers saying? Have they noticed my change of t-shirt yet? No.
No, they haven't. They're focusing on accents at the moment, and there's quite a lot of chat on YouTube. Mahak on Twitter says, my dad left India at 25 back in 1981 when he moved to Oslo, Norway. And now we've been in the US since 1996, and he still sometimes sounds like he's never left Delhi, which it's funny when my accent, when I go overseas, they can't, even in Europe or something, they can't really understand me because I tend to mumble but so I tend to speak in what they culture, as Anthony called it. But you catch up occasionally with other Australians at the hostel, and you just go fully broad Australia.
Yeah. No, I probably do over-enunciate a little bit. I think it's probably my natural style of speaking. But when
Shahid Afridi comes in, left arm over. And this, I think he's taken the all-important breakthrough for Pakistan, as this one's clipped the bail, has it? Or is it edged? We have no idea. We're waiting, and Miller's not going anywhere. Loud appeal there that seemed like it was coming in and it kept low. And David Miller is the batsman in question. It was a good delivery on middle and off, moving in. The umpire's unsure, and they've gone up to the third umpire for some consultation. What are your thoughts, Jen? What really happened there?
So that looks to be an umpire-driven review that's occurred, which suggests to me that they might have some concerns about whether it's carried. Because it didn't look like a review that was prompted by David Miller. So
that's a very good point. Very well said there, Cameron. Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think the only kind of, definitely there was an edge there, and definitely the ball is carried right into the pocket hands.
No, I think Miller missed one. I think Miller might have thought he missed it to hit the stumps.
No, he's definitely edged
definitely got an edge. Definitely got an edge there. The stumps are not moved, and very well taken by Mohammad Rizwan. And so that is the end of David Miller's stay. Short but eventful stay. He helped South Africa consolidate their position, and South Africa certainly lose now their 6th wicket with the score on 206. I'm going ahead of time, but yes, definitely the umpire has given that as an out. Cameron, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so ultimately the correct decision was reached, but I think what is interesting about this is less about what's occurred with Miller and what will now occur with this game, because 65 runs only to defend for Pakistan. They can't afford to soft play Jensen as he comes into his innings. They need to attack him early, and I would be surprised and probably disappointed if they don't immediately put a slip, at least one slip, if not two, and potentially look to try and dismiss him early, because the worst thing they can do is let him settle in, get an easy 10 to 15 runs, because by the time that happens, this game's already over. They need him early.
65 runs from 101 balls, and they've almost got half their side out. But Cameron, just an interesting process here is that a thought process that South Africa have never been tempted to sort of expose their lower middle order. As they've gone as far as Mark Jansen. We haven't seen Gerard Coetzee match Keshav. None of these guys have come in because their middle order has been so very strong. So this is an unexposed area, and certainly Pakistan will do well. One more wicket here. We know what Jansen can do with his long levers. He scored some runs in the last game, 75 not out, and certainly the tail looks quite long. Gerard Coetzee, is it? How do you pronounce it? Coetzee, right?
Yep.
I think he's an all-rounder. Maharaj can bat.
All-rounder be stretching it for him, I would say. He's capable, but I wouldn't call him an all-rounder yet.
Right. So they've got a long sort of a tail then. Maharaj can bat, so certainly if Coetzee is batting ahead of him, there must be some credentials there. But this one's a very lethargic looking shot there, one up, going away outside the off stump, and Marco Jansen going fishing, almost looking for the edge there. A brilliant Shaheen Shah Afridi delivery that got David Miller out previously has been the turning point of the game. So there's an interesting stage of the game now, Cameron.
Yeah, you raise a good point. Obviously, the lower order has been untested for South Africa, and they'd always be comfortable with that.
Yeah. And again, I cannot see much foot movement there, Cameron. Didn't see much of Jansen's innings the last time when he scored 75 not out, but Pakistan will certainly be interested in the way Jansen has played these first two balls, because he was playing away from his body, and they need to strike before he settles. He has scores of 12 not out, 26-9, 75 not out. His highest score earlier on, 1 not out against Bangladesh as well. With his tail up, shortish delivery climbs on him, and the tall, lanky 6-footer goes on the back foot, and as it climbs on, just sort of offers a dead bat, and the batters have no chance to run. Good working over here for Afridi, Cameron.
Yeah, tall cricketers can sometimes struggle with foot movement early on. They've got incredibly long levers, but it can sometimes take them a little bit to sort of warm into their batting a little bit, and they can be vulnerable early to balls that are either very full or very short, which can test out their sort of lack of movement. So I really like the way Freeze bowled to him early, either chucking them fuller outside off stump or really getting them up into his ribs.
Good observations there, Cameron. And this one, so this is the deadly Yorker, or attempted one. He did the bluff there by bowling a couple of balls outside the off stump, and he dug one in at his ribs. This is